Joined on the podcast now by Ashley Stepec-Bibler of Raised the Bar Hancock County. Ashley, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
It's been a busy week for you as you held your mock interviews earlier this week. I had the chance to take part in that. It was a great event and one that I thought would be really fun to highlight here on the podcast.
Yeah, so this is the first year that we've done it with all of our schools. So thank you for coming to it, first of all. But it was a really exciting day for sure.
Let's talk really about the importance of doing mock interviews for area high school students. Then we'll get in maybe to the structure of the day and how that went. But why is this a priority for Raise the Bar?
Yeah, so I feel like with students now, they're getting less and less experience with the interview process before they go into the workforce, whether that be through college first or going into the trades or the workforce, but they're getting less experience with those soft skills and with interview experience. So this gives them that experience early on during their junior year of high school to just see how an interview goes, to get some feedback. Mm-hmm. Some constructive criticism, if you will, and kind of see, how they're doing so far. And that gives them a little bit of time to perfect their interview process and also look at their resume and try to get some feedback on that as well.
I think what was really great about the whole event, other than the lunch was really good, by the way. Yeah, I hope you got a lot of good feedback on that. But what was really great was
the cafe at Mill Street. They did great.
You got a lot of different businesses involved, a lot of different industries, a lot of different people. So it wasn't just people from an office setting. It wasn't just people from a factory setting. You had the whole mix in there, which really, I think, represented the entirety of the business community. And really, I think, shows the kids the opportunities that are available to them close to home, even if they're maybe not considering something like that right now.
Yeah, so we had around 115 business professionals in the county from 76 different local businesses, which I think is an absolutely amazing turnout from our community to really support these students. And you're right, they were from a variety of industries. So we use YouScience assessments on all of the students in our county now. And we use those to find out what industries our students have an aptitude for and an interest for. And then we kind of use those assessments to gauge what industries we should pull from for these type of events.
That's really interesting. And we'll come back to the mock interviews in a second, but I want to derail over to YouScience for a little bit, because Raise the Bar has been very instrumental in making sure that is in front of kids in area schools. For people who aren't familiar with YouScience, let's talk just a little bit about that first.
Yeah, so YouScience is an assessment platform that looks at students and really just people in general's aptitude and interest. It does that through a variety of brain games. And in our county, students are doing that at the middle school level, and then some students are doing it at the middle school level and again at the high school level. And then they take an interest survey every single year after that, because our interests change. But something that was interesting to me is after around age 14, your aptitude doesn't really change at all. It stays the same. So we can get a good picture from that and then kind of craft experiences around those results, which is really neat.
Yeah, so on the chamber side of things, we've been encouraging businesses to sign up to make sure that they can get connected with these students. And it's kind of a beginning of an employment pipeline type of thing. But when we started this, we took the assessments ourselves just to see what it looked like. And it was very interesting. Apparently, I should have been working in sciences, which I'm actually good at science. I just didn't ever really consider it as a career and went a different way. But it's interesting to think, oh, okay, if I'd had this kind of guidance when I was a teenager and maybe something to help show me a more concrete example of what I could do with something that I was good at, that's really a big step in the right direction.
It is. And I feel like, at least when I was in high school, it kind of was, you got a job or you started a career and you stayed in that career. And that's just not how things work anymore. And it's nice to have those results to see what other industries or jobs that you would be good at, that you may not have even heard of or thought about before. So that is really a cool concept to that, because students get those results for 10 years after they graduate, which is another really important piece for on the employer end,
Mhm.
because those employers can sign up for free to YouScience. And if a student has an aptitude for a career within agriculture, for example, we can have a business sign up, and when a student clicks on that career, they can see all of the businesses in our local area that correlate to that career. So that's a really interesting piece to that.
Yeah. So, for instance, if you're a Legacy Farmers Cooperative and you have a profile on there, it's real easy for that student to see, hey, I'm good at things in this industry. I have an interest in some of the things in this industry. Here is a local business where I can learn more about. And really, on the business side, that's all it is a profile. You put in your contact information, the things that you're amenable to doing, whether it's internships, job shadow, something like that. But it's just really a way to get on the radar. And I think that's maybe an underutilized part of developing an employment pipeline.
Exactly. And, it's a relatively new platform that our county is using. It's just been within the last school year that all of our schools have gotten onboarded with YouScience. So we have a huge pool of students that are an audience for those employers and are just looking for someone to connect with.
Absolutely. And I will put in the show notes the link for businesses to start their profile on there. Again, it's free. Definitely take advantage of it. But I think it's also cool that you use the information that you have from that to then structure this event. So it wasn't a haphazard come and learn how to interview. You were really able to dial this into what our area kids are good at and interested in, which I think makes for a higher quality event.
Yeah, and students were really interested. I mean, we were strategic within picking people within those industries, but students were extremely interested in taking their results and finding people within those industries. So, although this might not have been an authentic interview experience, they were treating it as such because
Mhm.
they were actively looking for those industries that they had an aptitude for.
So you've got a couple days behind it now, and I've been able to catch your breath, maybe a little bit, not
A
not
little bit.
entirely. But what has some of the feedback been? What are some of the things that you then look to maybe add next year or tweak next year?
Yeah, so the feedback has been really, really good last year or this year. Last year, we had a pilot program with 3 of our districts in the county. And this year is when we added
Mhm.
all 8 within the county. And on the student side, they were really interested in looking again at those industries that they have an aptitude and an interest for. So they really want to. Have even more employers within certain industries, and they really want to make those connections. So I feel like sometimes in this generation coming up into the workforce, we think of, oh, they don't want to make the connections. They don't know how to make the connections. And they do want to, but
Mhm.
they might have some trouble making those. And this is one of those events that can help them do that. And then on the employer side, we got some really great feedback. A lot of people that came last year invited coworkers and things to come this year, which is we doubled the size of our employer pool, I guess. And next year, I feel like the same will happen because we've gotten really great feedback on how they were really impressed with how prepared students were. And really, the employers were excited about making those connections as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think for a couple of reasons. Obviously, maybe it's an in for developing that employment pipeline, but I get the feeling a lot of local businesses really just want to help contribute to the future of what Findlay and Hancock County are going to be, and they see this as just a step in that direction. So, well, it can be a little self-serving, and that's fine. I also think that people just kind of did it because they felt it's the right thing to do to help ensure the success of the community down the road.
Yeah, and I think that's something really great about our community is that we always step up to help one another. It might not have been a specific gain for their company in particular, but it's for the greater good and helping these students succeed after graduation, which is what we all strive for.
You mentioned just how at one, getting kids to in this position to do an interview, because they're just not used to having that type of interaction, and they operate a little bit differently than maybe you or I did when we were in high school, things like that. I had on the podcast, I forget which episode it was probably 6 months ago at this point. Kyle Watts was on from Millstream.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about career fairs. And one of the things that he had said is that career fairs just maybe don't hit the way that they used to, and had some different advice. And I can link to that in it. And I was curious kind of what your experience is with that. I know Raise the Bar has done some cool things with, instead of doing career fairs, taking kids who are interested in certain types of industries to those actual locations. And it feels like that's had more of an impact.
Yeah, so I feel like things are starting earlier and earlier now, I know Kyle works primarily with those high school students at Millstream. And so what Raise the Bar has done is we've kind of brought that down a little bit. So we have something called Career Connections Day that's in 8th grade. It's similar to a career fair, but it's just to expose students to those industries and see what local businesses are out there and kind of give them some hands-on experiences that way, where the employers come to one centralized location. And if you think back to when you were in 8th grade or when I was in 8th grade, I really had no idea what I wanted to do, maybe a little bit, but not really at all. And these are specific industries that these students can take their YouScience, look at their results, and then visit those industries. And then in high school, we give them the opportunity to go to our Career Expo series. So each month we bring them to we bring them to 4 different businesses a month for a Career Expo day. And it's all centered within one industry. So for example, in the month of March, we had our Arts and Media Career Expo where we visited Findlay Publishing Company, J. Warrington Photography, and UFTV Pulse, and just kind of showed students around the industry and gave them some connections. And that's in their 10th or 11th grade year, so that when they join into their 11th grade year, they can connect all of those dots, have their mock interview or mock interviews, and really feel prepared and feel like they've been exposed enough to go into the workforce.
Again, it really comes back to exposing kids to opportunities that are available local. This is welcome to Doug's hypothetical random thought of the podcast. We usually have 1 or 2 of these per episode. But you think about it, and when you talk to kids, every kid you talk to is like, when I graduate, I'm out of here. I'm never coming back. But they would think about how many kids actually end up doing that. And they might go away to college. They might go away for a few years, but how many people actually from your graduating class, that like went more than an hour or so away from home? And actually that number is usually not that big, at least anecdotally. That's been my experience. My wife and I were talking about it the other day. I'm curious I'm sure you maybe don't have the exact numbers, but if you see any sort of trends when it comes to how many kids actually do go away and never come back versus those who stay within an hour or so of home.
Yeah, so I don't have the exact number, but
and I didn't prep you for that in any way, shape, or form, so I don't expect you to have that number. But yeah,
just from experience and talking with these students, this generation right now that's in high school is really savvy financially, and they understand that they don't want to waste a lot of money going to college, jumping around majors like I did when I was in college, and trying to figure out what they want to do. So they want to start earlier figuring that out. So when we give them those connections and they see the various industries that we have in our county and Northwest Ohio alone, I feel like that is really a great incentive to stay in our area. And I see a lot of students when we have post-secondary presenters come in and talk about their institutions. I see a lot of students trying to look for those smaller colleges or those community colleges to kind of be a stepping stone into the real world, I guess, if you will.
Well, and if you think about it from the standpoint of what it costs to raise a family, right? You have a young daughter. You understand how this goes. It's not cheap, and if you're closer to home, you have those support resources maybe a little bit more readily available. And so if we have the job opportunities that are aligned with that, it really makes that transition into adulthood, I think, a little bit easier for some of these kids. So just getting businesses involved in that part of the pipeline and showcasing the opportunities that they present, that is worth its weight in gold.
I definitely agree. And, I think that our future is bright with these students. They know what they want, and they're not afraid to go after it. And luckily, we have what they need in our area.
Well, Ashley, we appreciate your time on the podcast today. If people want to learn more about Raise the Bar, maybe they're interested in getting involved in the mock interviews next year or anything else that you're doing, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can email me at Stepec-Bibler at raisethebarhancock.org. If you're a business and you want to talk with schools, you want to get into schools, you want schools to come visit you, I would love to talk. Again, if you have a student who you would like some help with direction, I'd be happy to help. Or you can call me at 419-348-9160.
All right, Ashley, thanks for your time today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Doug.